evening, and welcome to tonight's Talking Sports with Evan. It is a Thursday evening, February 27th. The Milwaukee Bucks are playing the Denver Nuggets down 32-30 in the second quarter, and it is a great day to talk sports here on Talking Sports with Evan. Few things to discuss here tonight. Going to talk some NBA and the Milwaukee Bucks, and seeing the questions starting to roll around through social media and sports talk radio. The doesn't matter where the Bucks end up at in the playoffs. They're not going to be a 1, 2, or a 3 seed. They're going to be a 4, 5, or 6. And the question is does it really matter? And I'm going to answer that question. WWE Nation Chamber is coming up on Saturday in Toronto, Canada. I'm going to give my thoughts on that upcoming event and give my thoughts on the WWE as a whole. And the NFL Combine is taking place right now in Indianapolis. Going to talk a little bit about the NFL Combine and give my thoughts there. I'm Evan Witalison. Obviously, it's the name of the show. You can find me on X at Evan Witt Sports. You can find me on Facebook and on YouTube, Talking Sports with Evan. And if you want to comment on anything I am discussing here tonight, feel free to leave a comment, leave a chat, and I will mention it on the air during the show. I do want to apologize to the fans. I did not have a Talking Sports with Evan NFL draft talk this week, as just things didn't work out for the week. I was supposed to have a guest, and for unfortunate circumstances was not able to get him on this week, meaning I was not able to have a show. But we will be back with draft talk next week. Friend of show Emlyn Thomas will be joining us. He was at the draft when it was in Chicago. We're going to talk about his experiences going to the draft live in Chicago, as it's in Green Bay this year. I mean, he's going to talk to you all about his experiences there. And I know it's going to be a different setup, but what to expect when you're at the draft. He's also going to give his perspective from an outside view. My show is very Packer-centric when it comes to the draft. He's not a Packer fan. He's a football historian in the Chicago area, and he is going to give his perspective on what the Packers could need in this year's upcoming NFL draft. But with all that said, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Podcast version, you can find anywhere podcasts are found, Apple, Spotify. Go ahead and check them out. Or you can go to my main site, Substack, and it's sportsthoughtsfromevan.substack.com. That is where you can find every show ever done, and also you can find almost all the shows, as I mentioned, on YouTube. All the video shows I've ever done is on YouTube, but all audio shows I've ever done before I even switched to video can be found on the site I gave you, Substack. So, going to start with the Milwaukee Bucks. Going to start with the NBA. The Bucks are tied up with Denver right now, 36 all. Coming into today, the Bucks are virtually tied with the Detroit Pistons for the 5th seed, and the Bucks have the tiebreaker right now, which puts them in the 5th seed. They're a full game behind the Indiana Pacers for the 4th, and about 5.5 games behind the Knicks for 3. Technically 6.5 because the Knicks own the tiebreaker, and just like that, the Nuggets are on a run and they're up 40-36. But anyway, so the question going around, a lot of sports talk, local stations, is does the Bucks seed really matter? And I'm going to answer it in two parts. Does it matter in a sense of getting to the NBA Finals and playing for a championship? No, it does not matter for that regard at all. Why do you ask? Because the Milwaukee Bucks are not making the NBA Finals. They're probably not even going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. There are just so many flaws with this team. They go in spurts where they play great basketball, and you think, okay, this team's turning the corner, and then they have spurts where it's just, what are you doing? I swear their basketball IQ has to be some of the lowest in the league, the way they play defense sometimes. Like Jericho Sims just got caught kind of napping on a drive to the hoop and didn't even challenge it. So the Bucks make too many mistakes. They make too many unforced errors. They just make it a lot harder for themselves than they need to be. And in order to beat a Cleveland team, in order to beat the Celtics, in order to beat the Knicks, they have to play 4 quarters of perfect basketball. Their A game. They can't bring their B game against the Cavaliers or the Celtics. They have to play 4 quarters of their A game in order to get that win. And the Bucks all season long has not shown me at all that they can give you 4 quarters of solid basketball. They just haven't. Too many flaws with the team right now. They've gotten better since the trade deadline. They've improved with Kevin Porter Jr. He's brought some energy off the bench, a little out of control at times. The second quarter against Houston, he was great, played within the offense, but when he came back in the fourth quarter, he tried to do too much and didn't really play within the offense, didn't really play his role. Kyle Kuzma has been a good addition so far. Shooting could be better, but he's giving you rebounding, giving you defense, giving you good effort all around. Jericho Sims has given you good defense in spurts, has given you virtually nothing on offense except a nice alley-oop dunk on Sunday against the Miami Heat. But the Bucks have gotten better, but I just don't see the consistency for 4 quarters from the Milwaukee Bucks in order to be a true championship contender. Now, the nice thing is that they got under the second apron. They gave themselves more flexibility to potentially try to re-piece this roster a little bit this offseason. The big thing the Chris Middleton trade did is it freed up some flexibility for them. And I think that's going to be a huge help going into the offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to have that Middleton contract off of their books completely, and they should be able to start maybe having some more options than hope and a prayer that Gary Trent or Prince or whoever, Andre Jackson, takes that next step. You can maybe put some more solid pieces. I know the big rumor last week, after Giannis said he's not going anywhere, he's never planning on going anywhere until they kick him out. Of course, Shams came out with, whoa, Giannis might leave. It might ask for a trade if it doesn't appear that things are going to go in the right direction. I don't think Giannis is ever going to go anywhere. And if he ever did, I will still root for Giannis. I would still hope that Giannis finds success. Now, I kind of went on a tangent there about a big, and depending on your perspective, does it really matter? No. But does the seeding matter if you want to win the first round of the playoffs? So first of all, the Bucks need Giannis healthy in the playoffs to even stand a chance in a best-of-7 series. The last 2 years, Giannis has not been healthy. He didn't play at all in the playoffs last year, and he missed games 2 and 3, I believe, the game before, and games 4 and 5, he quite didn't look like himself after having a hard fall on the court after Kevin Love kind of undercut him a little bit on a drive. So, first of all, you need Giannis healthy. Secondly, you need Damian Lillard healthy, and you need prime time, Dame time, Damian Lillard. You can't have the 7 of 20 type Damian Lillard. You need Dame time, Damian Lillard for all 7 games, for potentially 7 games in the playoffs. If you want to win a playoff series, you better hope the Bucks can get the 4 seed. The Bucks are currently 12-16 on the road in the NBA. They're not a good road team. They're not a good road team at all. Period. They're not. The Pistons are 17-13 on the road. Pacers are 15-14, and then you got the Bucks 12-16. They're 19-9 at home, and with a win today, they'd be 20-9. With a loss, they'd be 19-10. But if you want to win a playoff series, I think you have to win that 4 seed. I think matchup-wise, the Bucks match up pretty well with the Pacers. They match up well with the Pistons, even though the Pistons are red hot right now. But they match up well against those two teams. So you better hope you're playing one of those two teams too. If the Bucks fall to the 6th seed, which there's a very strong possibility that after tonight the Bucks could be sitting at 6th seed, as they're just not playing very well against Denver at all. They have 9 turnovers already in the second quarter. They're down by 2. It's the Bucks are just making too many mistakes, and now you're gonna have a wide open 3 from the corner that goes in because nobody bothers to try to cover the 3. So now it's 48-43. It's like little things like that the Bucks do to just irritate me. But if the Bucks fall to the 6th seed and they take on the Knicks in the first round, the Bucks are not beating the New York Knicks in the playoffs. They're just not. They're 21-10 at home, 17-10 on the road, and the Knicks are a bad matchup for the Milwaukee Bucks. They just are. The Bucks have no answer whatsoever for Jalen Brunson. He becomes primetime Michael Jordan whenever he plays the Bucks, and he gets Michael Jordan's whistle. He's not a good matchup for Dame. He's not a good matchup for Prince. He's not a good matchup for anybody currently on the Bucks roster. I guess we'll see if Kyle Kuzma can do anything against him. And now we have Gordon nailing a 3 from the corner as well. So 51-47. I think the Nuggets are going to start pulling away in the second quarter here. But back to the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns. Bad matchup for Brook Lopez. So you're going to have to potentially put Giannis on him, and that's really the only choice you're going to have. We haven't seen Jericho Sims on Karl-Anthony Towns because he was a New York Knick prior to the trade deadline, but I guess that could be another option that you could try on Karl-Anthony Towns. Sims seems to have pretty decent feet, pretty decent ability to switch. And that could potentially give you some possibilities there. But you also then have Josh Hart that seems to give the Bucks problems. Campaign has gone on a revenge tour the last time he played the Bucks. Precious Achiuwa seems to play pretty well against the Bucks. You just don't have good matchups. Now Mitchell Robinson is going to be out for a little bit for the Knicks. Not sure when he'll be available to play again. He just had a torn a knee issue that he's going to miss some time. But I guess come playoff time, you really don't know what's going to happen. The Knicks last year had so much injury issues that they were basically playing trainers and water boys and ball boys by the time they got to their last game of the playoffs. I think did they make the Eastern Conference Finals? I want to say they did. The Bucks didn't really get a fair shot against Indiana with no Giannis the whole series. Damian Lillard missed some time. The playoffs can be a crapshoot, but typically the talent rises to the top in the playoffs, and the only thing that can really derail a team is injuries, as we've seen the last 3 years with the Milwaukee Bucks. Injuries have completely derailed their season. But I think if you want the Bucks to win a playoff series, to advance around further than they have the last 2 seasons, you got to hope for that 4 seed. But in reality, they're not beating the Celtics. They're not beating the Cavaliers. They're not beating the Knicks and any of those 3 teams potentially in the second round. It's just not going to happen. They're too inconsistent. They have lapses typically in the third quarter. But 2 nights ago against Houston, it was the fourth quarter where their offense just completely disappears, coming like gone. They scored 12 points in the fourth quarter the other night. So my answer is, if you want a playoff series win, hope for the 4, but realistically, you're not getting past the second round if you get a first round win. And I get the Bucks have played the Cavaliers and the Celtics tough this season more often than not, but to beat them 4 times and 7 tries in the playoffs, especially the Celtics, it's just going to be extremely difficult to do. But moving on, Elimination Chamber, WWE Elimination Chamber is Saturday in Toronto. And the Elimination Chamber is one of my favorite pay-per-views or premium live events, whatever they're calling it these days. You have the men's Elimination Chamber match and the women's Elimination Chamber match. Probably one of the best things they did when Eric Bischoff was the authority person on TV. The creation of the Elimination Chamber, where you have 6 competitors, 4 locked in pods, and after every so often, another person joins the match. The men's, you have John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins. The women's, you have Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez. Now, the men's match, you have the side issues with Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Logan Paul, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Logan Paul. And then you have John Cena trying to get to WrestleMania to try to win his 17th World Championship. You also have the women's match. You have Naomi, Liv Morgan, and Bianca, a little mini feud going on there. Roxanne Perez and Bayley, you got a little feud there. And you have Alexa Bliss going back for her just 3rd appearance since returning to the WWE. She made her return at Royal Rumble. She had a match on Raw to become a person in the Elimination Chamber. And now she's in the Elimination Chamber. Other matches, you have Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus teaming up to take on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. And then you have Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in a, quote, unsanctioned match. The only reason why you have a referee there is to count the pinfall or call the tap out if there's a submission. And then you have Cody Rhodes and The Rock. The Rock stated on SmackDown last Friday night that he's going to be in Toronto and he wants Cody Rhodes' soul and he wants an answer at Elimination Chamber. But I guess we're going to find out what happens there. And then you also have, it sounds like Randy Orton's going to be able to return in March. And hey, take a guess. Saturday is March 1st. So maybe we see Randy Orton at Elimination Chamber match. I think it's a good card overall. I think Sami Zayn's going to lose to Kevin Owens, and that's where we're going to see Randy Orton come back because Kevin Owens is going to attempt to do something totally barbaric to Sami, and then you're going to hear voices hit over the PA, and now it's sounding like the WWE is considering Kevin Owens and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. The last time we saw Randy Orton is he got a pile driver from Kevin Owens, and he's been off TV ever since. Now, Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Trish Stratus is from Canada. I'm almost positive, almost certain that Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus is going to win that match. I just don't see it ending any other possible way because they're not going to have Trish lose in her home country. Women's elimination match. I really think there's only one person that legitly has a shot. I guess a legit person to win this, and that's Bianca Belair. The winner of this match would be taking on Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Liv, Rhea, we've been there, done that. We ended their feud at the first Raw on Netflix. Naomi, Rhea, not a big enough match. Roxanne Perez has only had one match on the main card so far, other than the Royal Rumble appearance. Bayley, I think they're leaning on Bayley and Roxanne Perez feuding Alexa, I think, has been gone too long. I think just out of a process of elimination, it's going to be Bianca Belair winning and moving on to Mania to face Ripley. And I think we're soon going to see Jade Cargill go after Naomi, because I think it was Naomi that ended up taking out Cargill so she could get the tag team with her buddy Bianca. I think that's how they're going to end up playing that one. And in the men's match, there's 3 people, and only 3 people, that I see that has a legit possibility of winning this match. John Cena, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre. Those are the only 3 that I feel have a legit shot to win. I don't think they're going to have Damian Priest main event WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to put him in that title picture against Cody that quickly. Seth Rollins is likely going to be going up against Roman Reigns, and I could be completely wrong, but Seth Rollins is likely going up against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's likely the matchup there. Logan Paul, they're not. I mean, they're not. They're absolutely not going to put Logan Paul against Cody at WrestleMania. I don't see that happening at all. I just think that Cena, Punk, and McIntyre, you have legitimate argument on one of those 3 going up against Cody at Mania. You have the whole Rock wanting Cody's soul. Cody says no. So one of those 3 ends up taking the Rock up on his offer. I think it's going to be Drew McIntyre personally. I think they're going to have Logan Paul and Punk at Mania, and I'm not sure what they're going to have Cena do yet. Maybe it's going to be Cena and Paul, but it could also be a triple threat match with Punk, Rollins, and Roman Reigns. So maybe we get Cena versus Paul for whatever reason. But I just think it's going to be Drew McIntyre, and he's going to end up winning the title at Mania. Now, the other wild card in this whole thing here is Paul Heyman owes CM Punk a favor. Remember, from the being part of the War Games team, CM Punk said that Paul Heyman now owes him a favor. We don't know what that favor is, and maybe that plays a role in what happens at Elimination Chamber. So that's going to be it for Elimination Chamber. A couple comments about WWE right now I want to bring up. SmackDown's been rough lately, man. Like, Raw has been good episode after good episode after good episode since being on Netflix. But SmackDown, especially since they went to 3 hours, it has been rough. They got to do something to improve the show, because it just seems it's hard to watch. It seems dragged on. 3 hours seems like 5 hours. And maybe that's part of the problem, but they got to do something. They really do. It is hard to watch. It's hard to stay engaged with. Raw, it's just I don't know if it's because it's on Netflix now, but it is typically 2.5 hours of just nonstop boom, boom, boom. But SmackDown just seems to drag. And I appreciate what they're doing on Raw. Penta's been a huge hit since he's been there. I wish we could see more Braun Breaker matches. I think we've had 1, maybe 2 Breaker matches since they moved over to Netflix. I wish we could have and this is my thought here. We saw about, I think, last week or the week before, big push for the women's division deserves better. And I agree, they do. But I made the comment on X, and I full-heartedly agree with this, is the Intercontinental title and the U.S. title, both men and women's, should be defended on every Raw and every SmackDown. If you want to raise the prestige of those titles, those secondary titles, they should be defended at every Raw and every SmackDown. The women's tag team title should be defended pretty much on every Raw and on every SmackDown too. The Raw and SmackDown women's championship matches, the championship titles, should be defended on every premium live event. And I know Triple H is obsessed with the 5-match format, but ultimately, you got to have your top champions, men and women, participating at every premium live event, defending their titles. That's what you got to do. On top of that, you have 3 hours of SmackDown, having a hard time coming up with enough content over a course of 3 hours. Why not feature at least the first hour or second or third, whatever, the women's division matches? That's when you have your IC title match, your US title match. Same with Raw, IC title, US title, tag team title. That's when you have those, and maybe take away some of the behind the scenes segments, the longer promos, and feed into more in ring time for everybody. That's how I think they need to fix the women's division. That's how I think they need to fix SmackDown, is focus more on what's going on in the ring and less on what's going on behind the scenes. The only complaint I would have with Raw right now is it's not the first 2 episodes anyways. It was all about the celebrity guest. They've kind of pulled back on that a little bit, but that's my thought there. And finally, NFL Combine time. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, as I try not to have this show over 30 minutes, and I'm getting right there to the wire here for how long I want to do the show weekly. The NFL Combine kicked off today. Well, technically yesterday with kickers and punters, if you want to, be technical. But the defensive line and linebackers were on center stage and still are on center stage right now as we speak. And we are going to be hearing about ridiculous testing numbers from the Combine. We have, for example, top performers of the 40-yard dash. Oh, that's not what I want. Sorry about that. I clicked a different screen for a minute. You have James Pierce Jr. ran a 4.47 40. You have Shamir Stewart ran a 4.59 40, and he graded out as a perfect 10 for relative RAS score, which for those aren't familiar with RAS scores, those are the athletic score that creator of RAS, Relative Athletic Score, from Kent Lee Plate or at Math Bomb on X, he created a formula that takes into account height, weight, hand size, arm length, 40, 20-yard split, 10-yard split, shuttle, 3-cone drill, vertical, broad jump, and gives them a number anywhere from 10 to 0, 10 being extremely high athletic traits, 0 being you probably shouldn't be participating in organized sports, let alone probably even playing chess. Well, his numbers it's really become it's starting to really take another huge step in popularity. It's already been popular. It's becoming an even bigger popular step here. And I use his material. I study it. I look at it, but it should not be all you look at when it comes to grading a prospect. Ultimately, film doesn't lie. If you are an NFL draft nerd, I would recommend they have full games on YouTube. I don't have access to the Alt 22, but if you have access to that, great. Find the Alt 22. Find the games on YouTube. Don't watch highlight videos. Highlight videos are skewed to make the guys look good. But find a full game of these guys and really watch if there's anything about them that stands out. And does their performance on the field match their athletic traits? And I bring this up because I'm trying to find, I mentioned Shamir Stewart tested at a perfect 10 for relative athletic score. He only had 4 sacks in college, or 4.5 sacks in college. He had a lot of pressures the senior year, and he had times where he was disruptive. But he for a player as physically gifted as him, the film should better match what you see. And it doesn't all the time on Shamir Stewart. There's times you don't notice him on the field. So we've seen it in the past. And this is my don't overreact to what you see at the quote unquote underwear Olympics. Take it with a grain of salt and see what guys like Dane Brugger from the Athletics say, Mel Kiper, Jordan Reed, Matt Miller, Jacob Westendorf, who I had on a couple weeks ago, Newt, who I had on. Those are the type of guys you should follow up with. Brian Maffei, another NFL draft person that I follow quite a bit. Follow up with what you're seeing. Brennan Rupp, who I was supposed to have on my draft show this week. Take a look at what they're saying about these guys to go along with what you're seeing at the combine to see if it's kind of matching up. If you're not one that wants to go in and break down and watch additional game tape and film and things like that, because they do excellent job breaking people down. NFL Draft Breakdown is another one, but that's my recommendation. We've seen there's John Ross, wide receiver, Washington. Huskies ran a ridiculous 40 time, got drafted by the Bengals in the first round, and never heard from really with the NFL. Golston, who the Jets drafted after a ridiculous combine. Mamula. There's just numerous guys. Matt Jones, quarterback at Arkansas, is going to be a wide receiver in the NFL. Tested incredibly, and he never matched the numbers that they put at the combine. So don't overreact. Don't overhype what you see at the combine, but use it with a grain of salt to maybe support your feelings of a player or on how good they're going to be or not. But I wouldn't use it the end all be all because you're never going to you 40 time, you're never going to run 40 yards straight down the field unopposed in the NFL. I watch a lot of line play. That's where my focus is. And I look at 10-yard and 20-yard splits when it comes to the 40. Like, how quickly are they getting off the line? How quickly are they able to get off the line? If they have a good 10, 20-yard split, to me, that's showing that they have some explosiveness. The broad jump, again, showing explosiveness. I know it's not an action you're ever going to do in an NFL game, but it's showing explosiveness. And I guess that's where I'm going to leave it with the NFL Combine. But hey, watch it, enjoy it, have fun with it, but just understand that it's just a tool out of many that NFL evaluators use to try to get a good read. And a lot of players now just use their pro days on campus, like Shador Sanders is going to throw at Colorado's pro day with wide receivers that he's more comfortable with. That's what we're seeing more and more anyways. But with that said, thank you for watching. I appreciate you all. New show next week. Might be 2 shows next week. I've been working on a couple guests for the live show. We'll see if one of them or both of them hit. If they both do, I'll have 2 live shows. And the next episode of Draft Talk will be next week as well. Look for that Tuesday at noon. Make sure to subscribe to the Talking Sports with Evan YouTube page to watch past episodes and catch all the new upcoming episodes coming up. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll get back at you next week.